And I will just pull up my remarks. Sorry, my computer crashed at just the most inopportune time this morning. Where did my remarks go? Okay, so good day. So I'll start with COVID-19 updates. I've noticed that there's an increased interest in the idea of the end of the pandemic in the news media since such was declared by the US president last week. I think that we've talked about this at previous meetings, but to recap, pandemic is defined as an epidemic covering most or much of the globe. And epidemic is defined as an increase in the number of cases of an illness clearly in excess of what you would normally expect. So the definition of epidemic ultimately depends on this phrase of what would you normally expect. And that's why there's likely to be significant disagreement on this point, because even as the virus changes, so do our expectations change, and different individuals in different jurisdictions might have different expectations at a different time. My expectation, which I disclosed to this body after that large winter Omicron wave, was that we would continue to see smaller waves come and go, and that each wave would stress our healthcare system less than the last. So I thought I would share my screen now. Share. Windows. PowerPoint. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
I know it might, oh, we're all online, so that's good, because I know in the council chambers it's hard to see. So these are all of the, this is hospital admissions from COVID-19 starting in January of 2020. And under that number 2 on the kind of right third of the screen is that large Omicron wave. And then after that, we see one wave and then another, each causing fewer hospital admissions than the last. So all of which to say, my expectations have been met in terms of what this virus would do wave to wave since about February or March of 2020. So I'm comfortable to say that I don't think we're meeting a strict definition of pandemic right now. I stress that this does not mean that COVID-19 is eradicated. It never will be. We've only completely eradicated one disease in human history, that was smallpox. And the smallpox vaccine is like 99.9% effective. And smallpox is much more dramatic than COVID-19, and smallpox does not have animal reservoirs like COVID-19 does. So eradication has been off the table for since we've learned all that. And just because the pandemic period is over does not mean that we shouldn't be doing everything we can to prevent and treat significant illness from COVID-19, and we are doing all those things. So as more people, such as the US president, find that the virus is meeting their expectations, more people will acknowledge the end of the pandemic. This is a socio-cultural process and not a biological process. I personally don't expect a Canadian declaration of the pandemic is over, but I do note that just this morning, the government of Canada has declared an end to all COVID-19 border measures to take effect on October 1st. So that's quarantine, the ArriveCan app, random testing, et cetera, et cetera. So as we conclude the pandemic period, I will say that I've been interested to evaluate the outcome of my approach to battling it in this jurisdiction. Are we still on screen share? Sorry, I always forget to turn it off. Not that anyone wants to see my face, I know. So as the committee is well aware, I've advocated for a traditional public health approach that emphasized individual consent and evaluation of the scientific evidence base, hard data, rather than what I would call a 2020 kitchen sink, let's try everything approach that I think emphasized cumbersome mandates and closures. So to this end, I personally commissioned Hawkins Consulting Corporation, which is an independent actuarial firm, to prepare a report on COVID-19 mortality in Halden and Norfolk, neighboring communities, and the province. This report includes data up to September 1st, 2022. The reports will be, the full reports will be included with my verbal statement or the publication of my verbal statement. And I will show you some of the tables from that report. If I go back to screen share. Share. So this is COVID-19 mortality broken up by age. There should be, in Halden and Norfolk versus the province. And the interesting or the most important field here is the total. And so that bottom right square shows that this actuarial firm has concluded that in Haldeman, Norfolk, we have had 70% of the mortality of the provincial average. So in terms of, then that's age-adjusted expected mortality. So 30% less than the province at large. And here it is broken down by age versus the communities that surround us. So Brant County, Hamilton to the north, Niagara to the east, and Southwestern to the west. And then in the total, so all the age categories compiled, you can see that we are, I would say, kind of tied for best result with Brant County at 68 versus 70%. That would be a statistical tie. And I'm very proud of that result. I will say, now that we have come to, I think, the pandemic's end. And frankly, this is what I came here to do. As you all know, I was an intensivist. I was very clear, I felt, in terms of what the evidence showed as to what the best approach would be. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to come to this community and take this approach. And I'm grateful for the community and all the community leaders who let me put evidence into practice, I guess I would say. We're still sharing, so I'll stop. Well, no, I'll leave it on share because the next point, so that's the COVID-19 update. The next point is the monkeypox update. We have not had a case of monkeypox in Haldeman, Norfolk for over 2 months. This is consistent with the provincial trend. So I have to go back to present. Present. Oh no, that's, sorry. So hopefully you can all see that. This is monkeypox cases in Ontario, peaked in mid-July, which is in fact when we had our last case. So this is good news, and I am likewise grateful to all the community members who are identified as being at risk, who manage their risk either through behavioral modification or through getting vaccinated. So that is really good news. Am I still sharing? I'm sorry. Nope. Okay, great. Okay, and then the last point that I wanted to update you is on the matter of public health restructuring in Ontario. So there have been rumors persistent for years. I think those rumors were intensifying before the pandemic. They were kind of on the, they were put on the back burner during the pandemic, but these rumors intensified since the last provincial election. And the rumors were that the public health units would be reorganized and consolidated. It has been presumed as part of these rumors that there will be many fewer MOHs in the province following the restructuring. I have not brought this matter up to the Advisory Council or to the Board of Health, as they were just rumors up to this point. However, they are no longer rumors. So I have, it has been personally confirmed to me and to several other MOHs by ministry officials that the final proposal for restructuring has been put forward and lies on the Minister of Health's desk. So myself, having come to do what I came to do, I'm quite comfortable with the possibility of returning to work in the ICU. Between now and any ministerial announcement, and I don't have a timeline on when that announcement will come, or ultimately if it will come, I would like to continue advocating for that any restructuring of public health service delivery in Haldeman and Norfolk, because they may not be Haldeman, Norfolk post-restructuring, is done in such a way as to adhere to the community's values and preserves the opportunity for community feedback going forward. So that's, I guess I would say that's top of mind to me now as the pandemic recedes as a matter of public health concern. So I'm always happy to take your questions, and that concludes my report. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Strauss. Questions from members of the committee? I have Councillor Corbett.
Thank you very much. You raise an interesting question with regard to restructuring. In your view of it, are we going to be swallowed up by the larger municipalities, and will we have a voice for our municipalities? That is a major concern, a voice, and I can see perhaps 25 members from Hamilton or Brantford and 1 from our counties. It's a very unfair system.
Thank you for the question, through the committee chair to you, Councillor Corbett. That is precisely my concern, and I think that that concern has been validated over the pandemic period, where I think that, and it's not a criticism of the province to say, or the federal government for that matter, when the pandemic erupted and suddenly everything was on fire all at once. And I don't think there was bandwidth in either Ottawa or Queen's Park to think about, oh, what about migrant farm workers, right? Whereas that is top of mind to this community. And I think that maybe the subscript to all, what I just talked about how well this community has done is that I think by taking an approach that meets the community's needs and its values, you end up with a better public health result. So that is my chief concern about what the restructuring announcement will be. I don't think it would be good for smaller communities like Haldimand and like Norfolk to not have the opportunity to chart their own course and for that course to be in keeping with their values and their needs. So that's, in the months that are left here, that would be the main point of my advocacy to the ministry insofar as my opinion on this is sought.
Thank you. What can our input be? It's like a voice calling in the wilderness. And I see the same thing happening with our federal restructuring of our boundaries there. It's just an unfair system.
Right. So so through the committee chair to you, Councillor Corbett, I am not a politician, and so it is not for me. Like I give advice when I am asked by ministry officials, but I don't think that. What would I say? I think in terms of lobbying the minister, that may be more a matter for Haldimand Council and Norfolk Council than for me. I'm very happy to consult insofar as I'm asked my opinion. So I now that this issue has been made plain and has left the field of rumor, I do think that is something for each councillor in Haldimand and Norfolk to consider, and perhaps the councils as bodies to consider whether they want to engage in letter writing or that sort of thing. But it's merely for me to flag that issue.
Thank you.
Okay, I see no other hands. So thank you, Dr. Strauss, for your presentation. I appreciate it.
Nice to see you all. Thank you.
Okay. Heidi, then in this case, we'll go on to the one and only report that we have here this morning. It's the Canada, on page 6, the Canada-wide early learning and child care service agreements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to pass this over to Jennifer Snell, Program Manager in Children's Services, to present the report. But I also, Mr. Chair, see that Councillor Van Passen has his hand raised.
Go ahead, Councillor Van Passen.
Just a quick question. Don't we normally receive the medical officer health report as information?
We can. I mean, it's a verbal report, but we can. I'll ask for a mover and seconder then to receive the verbal presentation from Acting Medical Officer of Health. Mover and seconder. Councillor Van Passen's moved. Seconder. Councillor Hoffman. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Heidi, go ahead.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. Jen Snell, Program Manager of Children's Services, is here to present this report. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning. Through the chair to the members of the committee, I'm happy to be here to speak to the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system and this report regarding service agreements related to that. The recommendations in the report are that Council receive this report as information and that Council authorize the Acting Director of Social Services and Housing to sign service agreements with eligible childcare licensees for the purposes of the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system. Furthermore, we are requesting that Children's Services service agreements are included in any future delegated authority. On August 17th, the Ministry of Education released a revised Canada-wide early learning and childcare guideline for service system managers with significant changes, including expedited timelines once licensees submit an application. The new timelines require service system managers to ensure licensee applications are processed and eligibility is confirmed within 10 calendar days of the date of application, and both parties are required to execute a service agreement within 30 calendar days of the date of application. Through the collaboration process on this report, we received some feedback from Haldimand County regarding the service agreement. After consultation with risk management and legal, we were advised that changes were not necessary. However, the request from Haldimand County has been acknowledged, and the conversation, being broader in scope, will continue between Haldimand and Norfolk staff, as noted in the conclusion of the report. Authorization for the acting director to sign service agreements will allow us to meet ministry mandated timelines and comply with the guideline requirements. Furthermore, it will allow us to issue fee reduction funding to licensees in a timely fashion, resulting in parents receiving fee reduction rebates sooner. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Questions of Councillor Corbett?
Thank you. I don't know whether you have any information on it, but how does this $10 a day subsidy for daycare work in this formula?
Through the chair to Councillor Corbett, that is what the system is. So in order for childcare licensees to be able to reduce their fees for families, they must apply and enroll in the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system. Per the ministry guidelines, we're required to enter into service agreements with those childcare licensees in order to provide them the funding for them to reduce their fees. So we're requesting the delegated authority to for the acting director to sign those service agreements to expedite the process to get those fee reductions to families.
So it goes through a financial check, or is it just automatic?
So there's an application process where we gather information from the childcare operator. There's some criteria that the childcare licensees must meet based on the ministry guidelines. We review that information. We communicate to them their eligibility, and we then take the information that they've provided to calculate their funding allocation, and we issue them payments.
Okay, have Councillor Huffman.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Jennifer. What's the timeline once these agreements are signed that daycare centers, childcare settings will start to receive that funding so that the fees can then be reduced?
Through the chair to Councillor Huffman. It's really just a matter of calculating their funding allocation. So part of our application includes formulas to calculate some of that. We're also working with OCCMS, which is the Ontario Childcare Management System, which are making updates very quickly to help us manage this, to calculate the portion of the rebates that are related to childcare fee subsidy. Once we have all of that kind of worked out, we understand those updates are happening in October. So we're hopeful that the actual issuance of payments won't take very long at all. Then it's just a matter of how long our payment system takes, which is usually about a week to 2 weeks.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, I see no other hands. So I'm going to deal with the motion on top of page 6 of the agenda. Can I have a mover and seconder for that motion? Move by Councillor Corbett, seconder. Councillor Patterson, all those in favor of the motion? It's carried unanimously. Heidi, is there anything else to bring to committee's attention?
Mr. Chair, I do have one last item, but before that, do we need a motion to approve the advisory committee minutes from July?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Thank you. Mover and seconder to receive those minutes. Moved by Councillor Corbett, second by Councillor Huffman. All those in favor? It is carried unanimously. Go ahead, Heidi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank all of the advisory committee members for their service, for your service over the last 4 years. I believe we have been planning our staff reporting to you so that unless there is an urgent matter that comes up over the next couple of weeks, we're not anticipating that we'll be having an advisory committee in October because the dates are in alignment with a very busy time of the year. And we have brought all of the matters before you in advance of that require your decision. So I believe that this is going to be the last meeting for this term of the Health and Social Services Advisory Committee. So I really want to thank all of you for your service. It has certainly been my pleasure to work with all of you. I really appreciate your interest in all of the work that we do in public health, social services, childcare, and housing, and the passion that you bring to the table when you come to advisory committee, asking good questions and having great debate. So thank you very much for your time and your service. We really appreciate it. And I hope that for those of you who have an opportunity to choose committee appointments for the next term, I hope that you would consider coming back and joining us again. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Heidi. It's been a pleasure chairing this committee, and I really appreciate the members of council from both ends and all the support that I received from staff. I appreciate it. Councillor Corbett, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question following this, but I certainly thank everybody. It's great working with you. Congratulations for Stu, who has been acclaimed. I have never had that opportunity. Good for him. Kim, thank you for the email. I appreciate it. As most of you know, this will probably be my last opportunity to see you. So it's been great. Thank you very much. And I wish you all good luck in your upcoming endeavors. The question I have is an update on where we are for housing sales. And I'm looking at some trigger point to get our project started in Dunville. I know it's been a long, slow process, so if we can get some indication on it. And again, thank you all it's been enjoyable.
Thank you, Councillor Corbett. Yes, I have been communicating back and forth with the ministry on the item related to ministerial consent and have gotten some details at the end of last week that I'll be sharing with Matt Bowen from the Housing Corporation today in order so that that process can move forward. So should be moving forward at any point now.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Motion to adjourn, mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Huffman, seconder. Councillor Van Passen. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.